Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Valeria Ochoa, and I'm so happy to be here with all of you virtually on the other side of the screen. Today, we are here to talk about a very, highly requested topic, and this is why I am here today with all of you to talk to you about how you can be a friend to someone living with dementia. Once again, welcome for all of you who are joining me today. I encourage you to take out a piece of paper, a pen, pencil if you haven't already. If you'd like to take notes on your, smart device or phone, um, whatever smart device or cell phone that you're using, feel free to take notes on it and share this information that I am about to talk about in this presentation so that you can, spread the word, spread the knowledge on how to be a friend to someone living with dementia. Next. The learning objectives for today are quite informative. We will go over how to, what it means to be a good friend, and we will understand what are the feelings that you may be currently experiencing, or the emotions that you have gone through when you discovered that your friend has dementia, a type of dementia. With that, we will dive briefly in what the different types of dementias are and the symptoms accompanying with that. And finally, we will, talk about and have a conversation on how we can be a friend and be of support to an individual living with dementia. Next slide. So, what makes a good friend? Before this individual that you care so dearly about was diagnosed with dementia, how are you a friend to this individual? When I think about how I am a good friend to others, and I am sure that a lot of you can agree, I like to be a good listener. I'd like to follow up on conversations that we had, hence being a good listener. I offer help as much as I can. Anything from, hey, let me know if you need anything. Let me know if you need something from the grocery store. Let me know if you would like to, for me to keep an eye out for a certain, little one at home or a pet. And also, not only that, I try to really engage in conversations with all of my friends by having a good laugh. And of course, trying to be supportive and also trying to be as interactive and social with them, because that's what having friends is about. Next slide. All of you, I know that all of you have individuals within your life that you maybe continuously connect with. You have maybe a family member can also be a friend, an individual that you've been keeping in touch for many years. A sibling can be also a friend. Think about all the things that make you a good friend and this other individual. Before your friend, of course, was diagnosed with dementia, we try to be, of course, and try to be not judgmental, try to be accepting, try to be also, respect each other's opinions and treat each other as equal, and of course offer that listening ear to our individual or person who is a good friend of ours. Next slide. These are all the things that we want to, keep in mind when we're considering how can we be a good friend and what makes a good friend. Now, let's talk about, now that you know that your friend or this individual has been diagnosed with a type of dementia, what are the emotions that you are currently experiencing or feeling, or whether it's yourself or someone that you know. It is okay to feel shocked and denial. It's important to be aware of these emotions, because oftentimes we may feel stressed, anxious, we don't understand the situation. For a lot of us, if you're stepping onto the dementia world for the first time, it can be very difficult to comprehend the different types of dementias, how that has to do with memory loss, and all of this makes us feel essentially hopeless, because we really want to, maintain that relationship with this individual and try to still be as supportive as we can. But oftentimes, like I said, we don't understand the diagnosis and necessarily the situation that our friend is going through. And I applaud all of you for connecting today, because this is a way that we can of course, try to understand what our friend is going through and try to better navigate the situation and think about it in a more optimistic and positive way. Next slide. When our friend is diagnosed with dementia, these are, again, all of the emotions that you may be currently experiencing, or you know of someone who's currently experiencing these emotions. Paranoia can be one of them, and anger, frustration, and fear is another. These are more, the negative emotions, but very real emotions that all of us may feel. So if you know someone who is currently feeling this way, it is okay to affirm them. It's okay to let them know and assure them that these emotions are 100% normal. For all of you, it's 100% normal. I cannot reiterate that all of these emotions are okay for us to feel. Next slide. I want to, I've already kicked off this topic, but I want to share this the quote that I found as I was doing research on this topic. Changes will occur as a result of dementia, but important elements of friendship still remain. I was having a conversation with my neighbor who is currently a caregiver for individual who she cares very dearly about, and this individual is showing early onset stages of dementia, memory loss. And one of the things that my neighbor shared with me is that she does not know how to maintain the relationship. She does not know how to try to be a good friend, and more than anything, try to be understanding and supportive. But one of the things that, of course, I told her to keep in mind is that, yes, there will be changes as the dementia progresses, but the friendship that you cultivated with this individual will remain forever within each other's, hearts, emotions, feelings, and memories, really. Next slide. So let's talk about what dementia is. I know that a lot of you joining me today, you may know what dementia is, and some of you may not 100% understand it. As I mentioned previously, you're stepping onto this new world for the first time, and that is okay. Dementia is, it's memory loss. Your loved one, your friend, is experiencing cognitive deficiency that essentially really disrupts their daily activities of daily living, And these activities are things that we often, overlook if we're 100% independent and healthy. Activities such as bathing, driving to the grocery store, cooking, cleaning, going to a doctor's appointment. These are some of the activities that are disrupted when a loved one or someone is experiencing dementia or memory loss. And dementia is a very, I'm sure I can say, convoluted topic. And it is very complicated at times to understand because we don't 100% comprehend why it happens, but we know that it is caused by brain damage, and is specifically damage within our cells called neurons. And as these very important cells within our brain are being affected, it can progress, the dementia can progress, and of course, depending on the individual, it can also be slow onset dementia. It really depends on the individual, but dementia, again, in a nutshell, is memory loss. Next slide. Now, of course, you may have already heard of the different types of dementia. Like, for example, the most common one that I'm sure a lot of you have heard about is Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a type of dementia, but dementia does not necessarily have to be 100%, for example, Alzheimer's disease. Dementia, under the dementia umbrella, we also talk about, we can think about Parkinson's disease. It can lead to dementia, like a type of vascular dementia. There's also Lewy body dementia, frontal temporal dementia. All of these, diseases have something or conditions. What they have in common is that they are a type of memory loss, dementia. Next slide. But as I mentioned, a lot of you may hear about, maybe you haven't heard about vascular dementia, Lewy body dementia, and you often more than not have heard about Alzheimer's disease. And that's because it takes account for 60 to 80% of the cases of memory loss, and specifically within the United States. And that is a large percentage when you break down the numbers and you take a look at the individuals who are being affected by this disorder. Next slide. The second most common type of dementia is vascular dementia. So what is this? Vascular, let's talk about what the word vascular means. And we're thinking blood, we're thinking maybe blood vessels, and memory loss, memory, it has to do with the brain. So vascular dementia means that there is some kind of blockage within our brain, maybe a leak that prevents adequate blood flow from continuing to continue to flow within our vessels in our brain, and that inadequate blood flow or lack of blood prevents our vessels, our cells, our brain to from receiving oxygen. So without blood and a limited amount of blood flow, there is also a limited amount of oxygen. So with that lack of oxygen, we can, our cells begin to die, and these things, vascular dementia, can be caused or occur after a stroke, after maybe an accident. Vascular dementia is often really overlooked, but it's the second most common type of dementia within the United States. And these are just some of the things that we want to keep in mind, because of course we cannot always assume that our friend or loved one individual who has the type of dementia will have Alzheimer's disease. It's really we're encouraged to try to assess or take into account the whole situation and be mindful of this, the type of dementia that they have. Next. The symptoms of dementia, like I said, there's different types of dementia, like Alzheimer's, vascular, Lewy body dementia. But of course, what they all have in common, most often, of course, is memory loss. And with memory loss, we are impaired, or there's a cognitive impairment. So your loved one, you may be noticing these symptoms in your loved one. Lack of communication, maybe they can no longer articulate words, they can no longer put together some sentences, can no longer communicate with you as effectively as they used to. Of course, they start to forget names, forget things, and oftentimes also there's the symptoms of dementia is accompanied by inability to focus, paying attention to a conversation. There may be poor reasoning and judgment, and of course, lack of visual perception as well. And what that means is that as an individual is going about a room, they may not see things that are in front of them. And they may think, for example, that an object is really far away, when in reality, it's very close in proximity. So these are some of the symptoms that we wanted to include in this presentation. They are not all of them, so I do encourage all of you to, of course, continue to expand your knowledge and continue to learning on the symptoms of dementia within, so you can better be a support, be a better support for your friend. Next slide. Some of the things to keep in mind when we are, of course, trying to be supportive, trying to be a good friend, maintain that friendship, once again, that you've cultivated for so many years, or that you've just, flourished and created. Some of the things to keep in mind is that if your loved one or this individual has been diagnosed with dementia, let's not go down, the roller coaster that's never ending. It is okay to realize and understand that your loved one or this individual may have dementia, but just because they have dementia, it doesn't mean that it will be progressive. Sometimes we, set ourselves or put ourselves in stressful situations mentally. So we have to try to be a little more optimistic and positive, and understand that dementia, the different types of dementias, it's different within every single individual, and it may be slow or progressive, but let's try to keep a positive mindset. And also, another thing to know is that although your friend, this individual that has dementia, may not 100% comprehend or understand, make sense of the world around them, they can still pick up and understand, for example, body language. They can understand and feel when you feel agitated, confused. They will try to make a try to comprehend what is going on. And oftentimes maybe they won't, but they can still really pick up on your emotions. So that's why being optimistic, trying to be happy around them, trying to have a laugh is always a good and something good to keep in mind when we're trying to be a good friend to an individual living with dementia. Next slide. These are other tips that I can also give you. I know that when I used to care for my aunt, who is no longer with me today, she had Down syndrome and she also had dementia, and she was very, very smart. And of course, when she was diagnosed with dementia, sometimes she would do things or say things that she didn't say or do before to me. And at first, it was very difficult for me to not take it personally, but not only that, not be affected and hurt by it. So one of the tips that I can give you, aside from these other three, is that do not take personal mistakes or their mistakes, any kind of mix-ups. Maybe they're mixing up you're confusing your name with another individual. They're calling you a different name. Maybe they become agitated. Let's not take things personal, because again, they may not understand what is going on around them. But sometimes when it's the right time, they may not remember you or remember the moments that you had, but they will remember the emotions and feel the emotions and know that they still they like you. So these are the things that I noticed personally with my aunt. Sometimes she would become agitated, but at times, after she had the outburst, she would look at me. I would look at her, and she would look at me, and I knew that emotionally and deep inside, she understood somewhat what was going on with me and with her. Next slide. So now that we've talked about the different types of dementia briefly, how we can be, what it means to be a good friend, some tips to keep in mind, let's talk about some communication methods or some communication tips that I can give to all of you today. When you're having a conversation with your friend who has dementia, these are some things that you may want to incorporate in your conversation. I know that when I am hanging out with my friends, family members, or around individuals who I feel comfortable with, it can be overwhelming when, for example, maybe siblings, family members, friends start blurting out a lot of questions. What's going on with this? How are you doing? What happened with this last time? This conversation that we had last time. How are you feeling with this? It can be very overwhelming for an individual that doesn't have dementia. Now, and imagine for a person living with dementia that doesn't understand what is going on and may not necessarily remember you or who you are. So asking one question at a time and being mindful of that, of the statement that you're making, can make all the difference in the world. Now, if you're having a conversation, you ask them a question such as, how did you like the walk at the park that you just had? Maybe they won't answer. Maybe they won't answer, to your question, or you're asking them to, you ask them a question that's open-ended and they don't understand, necessarily pick up on that. Maybe you can fill in the blanks. The walk on the park was very lovely, don't you think? And that is, a way that you can fill in the blank and make them feel a little bit more at ease. Instead of saying, how was the walk at the park? You can say, again, the walk at the park was pretty lovely. What do you think? And this is part of, using positive language. Let's enjoy this moment. or let's sit and watch the birds. The birds are beautiful. This is a positive language that we always try to, incorporate, or at least I did with my aunt. And of course, using repetition, because they may not always, answer to our questions. They may try to articulate. The question may be, they may be thinking about it continuously in their head, or maybe they just forgot. You can always use repetition to try to engage in a more positive conversation with your friend. And of course, keeping language simple, such as, of course, how was your lunch? Lunch was delicious. What did you think about it? What did you think about the bird on the branch? The bird was beautiful. Keeping language simple, and of course using repetition in all of these communication tips will help you be a better friend, and once again engage in a more positive conversation. Next slide. These are other tips that are very helpful to keep in mind as well. Using humor is my my absolute favorite, because who doesn't want to engage and have a good time with a good laugh? Sometimes cracking a joke, even though they may not understand it, is also helpful. Sometimes I know that when I'm around individuals who they just have a contagious laugh, it makes you feel good. So maybe we can be that individual with a contagious laugh. We can also try to, once again, be mindful of our body language and nonverbal communication. This is huge. Our tone of voice, we want to, sound exciting, sound happy to be around them, sound inviting as well, that we trust them, that we like to be around them. A lot of the times, individuals, people with dementia, once again, may not 100% remember who you were, what the situation was like, what their life was like. They may not 100% comprehend the world around them, but one of the things that they definitely pick up on is body language, such as, in nonverbal communication. If you are not engaged, looking around, no eye contact, if you sigh a lot, these are nonverbal communication cues that an individual without dementia can pick up on. An individual within a conversation can understand that you feel unengaged. So an individual living with dementia is definitely still going to pick up on these cues. So once again, positivity will be one of the most helpful tips that we can try to take with us when we're having a conversation and interacting with a friend living with dementia. Next slide. These are some conversation starters. I know that, once again, if you're diving into the dementia world for the first time, maybe you are visiting your friend for the first time since you found out that they had dementia. And sometimes, yes, it's okay. It can feel a little bit uncomfortable. You may feel nervous. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to get the ball rolling and have a conversation with them. Sometimes it's just helpful. A great way to start a conversation is by recalling events with them. If you have a friend that has dementia, the dementia has not necessarily progressed, they're still somewhat independent, they can still have a conversation with you without forgetting some things, then you can get the ball rolling by letting them know, hey, I really enjoyed our walk around the park yesterday. How about we do that sometime again? Or it was lovely that your grandson Luke made this card for you. And this, conversation starter is great for individuals or friends that have, late onset dementia. Maybe they may not understand, for the sake of this example, who Luke is, but if you show them the card and let them know, hey, it was so lovely that your grandson Luke made this card for you, then maybe they can start thinking, oh, I have a grandson and his name is Luke. And they can sit there, look at the card, and think about these things. And this is a way that you are engaging in a conversation. And lastly, I'm looking forward to Sam's visit this evening. That is another, way that we can have a conversation and once again engage with them even more. Instead of saying, for example, let's say one of the things that, and I'll get more in depth into it as the presentation progresses. But for example, instead of saying I really enjoyed our walk around the park, oftentimes we may just say, "How was the walk? How was our how? What did you think about our walk around the park yesterday?" Now, the person may not 100% recall what they did yesterday. I know that I forget sometimes what I did, what my tasks were from the day prior to today. So it can be difficult. So that's why thinking about how you formulate and really start the conversation can be very good to consider. Next slide. In addition to trying to maintain a positive conversation, have a positive, engaging, an interactive activity, whatever it is that you're doing with your friend. One of the things that we can always try to keep in mind is that we want to share some meaningful experiences and interest with our friend. So if you used to, for example, love to play an instrument, sing together, you can still incorporate this interest that you both have in common with your friend that now has dementia. Maybe your friend may no longer, he or she may no longer, or they may no longer remember how to play an instrument, but you can still engage in this experience by you being the one who plays the instrument and you're the one who's singing. Music has been shown to drastically, improve, have high benefits for emotional and behavioral benefits or changes. This isn't a full-on dementia presentation, or what is dementia presentation, but music therapy or some kind of musical experience is associated with, once again, an increase in a positive, having a better behavior, an increase in mood, decrease in stress. And that's because within our brain, sometimes when individuals who have dementia, when they listen to a song, when they hear an instrument, the melody of an instrument, it may help them recall memories. And that's because within, your temple area, there's a region within your brain called the temporal lobe. And within that area, there's also a little section called the auditory cortex. And that helps us recall experiences. And such as, musical melodies, songs. It can help your friend recall positive memory, positive moments or positive experiences. Another thing that you can engage with your friend is just sit together and watch a movie, or you can engage and look through a photo album together. There are so many things that you can still do that you once did with your friend today. You don't have to necessarily sacrifice your interest because remember, your friend is still there even though their memory is fading. Next slide. These are other activities. Once again, it cannot go unsaid that you can engage with your friend. I am a big and huge advocate for gardening. In fact, we had a gardening live stream not too long ago in which we talked about the benefits of gardening. And if you are a gardening fan, as I am, this is a wonderful way for you to have an outdoor or indoor interactive activity with your friend. It's a great way for your friend to have a sensory experience by, really digging and touching the soil without any gloves. If you feel comfortable, they feel comfortable. Really smell the soil, the earthy smell, smell herbs, the flowers, and just really engage in activity that is not only beneficial for them, but also very beneficial for you. And of course, there are many other tips that I can give you going to for a walk, walking your pet. You can also engage if you're in a group of people or friends. You can have an activity such as passing a ball activity, such as passing a ball around. Those balls that are inflated with air, they're not heavy at all. And you just pass the ball around, and that's a great way to engage them in a physical activity. Or you can sit in a circle once again and pass around a very light but weighted ball around the circle. And that's also a physical and sensory experience that you can, or activity that you can incorporate as you're trying to have a meaningful friendship and relationship with this individual. Next slide. Some of the final tips that I can give to all of you is that as you are, once again, walking in and is that trying to establish, a routine with your friend, trying to visit them as often as you can. Always, what better way to introduce yourself or, welcome them than to say hello with a smile too. And of course, introduce yourself. Hey, my name is Valeria, for example. It's so great to see you. And this is a way that we can try to establish a positive routine, try to establish positive habits within, our relationship with this individual, friendship. And of course, body language is important. Trying to be relaxed and never force the conversation. Try to make it as organic and normal as possible. Again, this individual will pick up on your body language. So if you feel uncomfortable, they will too. And of course, taking some time to share on what some of the things that you like, what your thoughts are, having a conversation with them. They can be your friend who has dementia, can also be a listening ear. And remember, sometimes when we go to visit our friend, there may be a bit of silence. Your friend may not be as chatty, or they weren't as chatty before. And sometimes we are surrounded by silence. And that is 100% okay. It's okay to sit in silence. I know that personally with me, with my aunt, I felt 100% comfortable when I was driving her, for example, to her doctor's appointment, and it was just silent. It gave me time to think, it gave me time to plan for the day, and it also gave me time to think about some ways that I could better engage with her. So remember that silence is not necessarily a negative thing. It can be a positive thing. It's all about the way we look at the situation and try to make the best of it, what we have. Next slide. When we are visiting our friend, or when we have, or maybe our friend coming over to visit us in our home, some of the things that we may consider or want to consider is that let's consider what the environment is like. If you are having your friend over, maybe you may want to have, turn off the radio, turn off or lower the volume of the radio, lower the volume of your TV, your music. Try to have a comfortable space for this individual, because sometimes or oftentimes it'll be unfamiliar to them. So also trying to pick a familiar location. If your friend likes to go to the park a lot, if your friend likes to go to a local center, you used to go to it together. Maybe that's a location where you can meet up and try to engage with them. And of course, trying to keep your language as simple as possible in your sentences as well. But not only that, as well, trying to not ask so many questions and keeping it simple, really. And a smile, a wave, a goodbye, all of that makes a difference. Next slide. Thank you to all of you who have joined us today. I do want to finalize by restating that Southern Caregiver Resource Center is here to support you, the individual, the caregiver who is offering a listening ear, some aid. Maybe you drive your friend to the grocery store, to the doctor's appointment. You are a caregiver and you are supporting them, whether it's a full-time, part-time, or from a long distance. We're here to care for you, the caregiver. So I want to state that these are all the services that are available to you for absolutely free throughout the San Diego County. And we also serve individuals within the Imperial Valley area. anything from free respite hours to support groups, virtually and in person in English and Spanish. We have free legal and financial consultation to case management. We also have a wonderful program that specifically was created and implemented here at Southern Caregiver Resource Center. Reach to Caregivers. That's what the program is called, or in Spanish, it's called Calma. And it was implemented for caregivers that are supporting a loved one with a type of dementia. I encourage all of you to go to our website, www.caregivercenter.org, so you can learn more about the wonderful services that we offer here at SCRC. Next slide. If you haven't done so already, check out our Caregiver Corner. What that is that essentially a presentation like this. Oftentimes they are about 30 minutes to an hour, but in the Caregiver Corner, we have all of these topics, or 1 hour webinars, and we condense them into 1 minute tip videos. So in 60 seconds, you will get all the learning objectives and the juicy, good information in 60 seconds. So I encourage all of you to check it out. We also have our podcast. We are on a variety of different platforms. And what that is that we have a conversation with professionals, caregivers, individuals who understand the caregiving world. And we talk about caregiving. Let's talk about caregiving. So I encourage all of you to also check that out. It's a great, resource to have. If you are constantly on the go, you can listen to it in the car. You can listen to it while you're sitting at the park with your friend. It's also great to just take. It's a great informational resource for us to be more informed and also engage in this conversation. Next slide. I want to also finally invite all of you to our upcoming and in-person event. And I said finally because since the pandemic began, this is our first in-person event that we are facilitating and hosting. It will take place in person on the lawn on Tuesday, May 24th from 1 o'clock till 3 o'clock. And what this is that it's not only an event, but it's a fundraiser. This is a way that we are able to do what we do. We partnered with Music Works. They're a wonderful organization with music therapists, and we will be able to host and have an interactive musical session with, drums, guitars, egg shakers, and just have and really indulge and take in on the benefits of music. I know that I've attended 3 sessions, and every single time I walk out of there feeling less stressed out and feeling more joyous, happy. I encourage all of you to check out the link at www.bit.ly/SCRC music. And that is where you can buy your tickets. And if not, check out our website under workshops and events, and you will find this event right there. Next slide. For the upcoming live stream in June, we will be having a Spanish live stream, and it's called Caring for the Caregiver, Mobility Assistance and Safety Tools. We will be collaborating with At Home Medical Supplies and St. Paul's Pays, in which we will be demonstrating to you and talking to you about different transferring techniques and how to use different equipment at home that you may have or may want to have as you're caring for your loved one or this individual. It is scheduled for Friday, June 10th from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock PST. So feel free to once again check out our website so that you can register. This will be streamed live in Spanish, and it is 100% free. Who doesn't want to obtain some tips on transferring techniques? Next slide. If you haven't done so already, feel free to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Instagram. These are all the social platforms that we have to really try to raise awareness on the caregiving world. And this is also where we share the news on what is going on within Southern Caregiver Resource Center. So feel free to follow us so you can stay up to date with the latest news here at SCRC. Next slide. This is our contact information with our website. Feel free to jot it down if you don't have it already. And please share the word, spread the word about our services and this wonderful topic that will be available to all of you to rewatch here on our channel. Thank you all, and I will see you next time. Have a wonderful day.